Hi, and welcome back to the Positive Prepper. I hope you guys had an awesome Christmas and an amazing New Year celebration. And I pray that 2023 for you guys is way better than what 2022 has been for a lot of people. I know that I had a great time with my loved ones, my family, and friends. And we have to be thankful for those blessings that we get when they come. And I am very thankful. I want to talk about 2023 because it is New Year's Day. There's a few things that I want you to be aware of, and then I'm going to talk about some of my predictions for 2023. So, today, January 1st, large trucks and buses that are 2010 or older are not allowed on California roadways. So this removes approximately 70,000 trucks off the road in California. We don't know yet what the impact of that is going to be on the supply chain. That remains to be seen. But I can only imagine that because of the supply chain issues that we're already having, that this is going to have some impact, although you might not see it until down the road. I do want to say, though, that we went to Walmart yesterday or the day before. Nope, that would have been Friday. And there was absolutely zero cat food on the shelves. And finding just hay, plain hay, for our guinea pigs, well, for our daughter's guinea pigs, was really, really hard to find. And so I don't know how this is going to impact anything. We probably won't see that impact for probably a couple of weeks. But it's something to keep in mind. The shortages that we're already having and how that's going to impact more shortages because we don't have the trucks out there, especially getting things from the docks, the shipping yards out in California, and getting them into the mid part of the country. It's going to be really interesting to see how that all plays out. So keep that in the back of your mind. January 6th, as we all know, last year, 2022, was a really different day for everybody, and that's really all I'm going to say about that. I have my opinions, but I'm going to leave it at that. However, what many of you might not know is that on January 6th of this year, that means this week, the Supreme Court is going to get the information on the Brunson versus Adams case. So what this is a man named Brunson, and I think I might have described it in my last video, but I want to go through it again. The 2020 election was never investigated. Okay? There was a lot of evidence that said that we had foreign interference, China, for example, in that, and they had until basically right up till January 20th to investigate that and those claims and everything, and they refused to do it. Nothing was ever done. Keeping in mind that at the time, the Democrats were in control of the House and the Senate. But there were a lot of Republicans that could have done something about it that chose not to. And so these are all the ones that are actually named in this case. I think it's very ironic that the Supreme Court gets this case on January 6th, the anniversary date of the supposed insurrection. That's going to be something to watch. There was an attorney that my husband read about that basically puts them under fire. Like, they have to do this. They have to investigate this. They have to look at the evidence. They have to hear this case. We don't know what the outcome's going to be. I said that before. But this first week of January on its own is going to be a very important week to keep an eye out on things. The other thing happening is Title 41 or Title 42. So Title 42 has to do with the immigrants that are coming across the southern border. And there's a point that I want to make very clear to all of you, is that this is a health policy, not an immigration policy. So it was put in place during COVID to keep people out of the country. Okay? We didn't want to further the spread of anything that might be going on, kind of regardless of how you feel about it. But it really isn't going to matter whether Title 42 expires or not, whether it's allowed to expire or not. Because it's, like I said, it's a health policy, not an immigration policy. And so people are still going to be coming across that southern border. And I want to put this in perspective for you guys. You know, like you all know, I'm up here in Wisconsin. And, you know, that doesn't necessarily directly impact my community. Okay? But here's what I want you to keep in mind. In 2022, so far, and this was as of, I believe it was just before Christmas, this was the last count. In 2022, 2.76 million people crossed our border into mainly Texas and Arizona. Okay? Major crossing areas. So 2.76 million. Okay? If you look at the ratio of migrants to citizens, okay, there's one migrant for every 12 people. Okay? So one person crosses the border for every 12 residents of Texas and Arizona. If you look at anything that the government puts out, their ratio of an invasion is one person, and I'm just gonna, don't take this the wrong way, but this is the way that I have to put it so that you guys can understand this, is one bad person for every 50 good people. So for every 50 people, citizens of the United States, one person from another country comes in. That is considered an invasion. Okay? Right now at our southern border, we have, for every 12 American citizens, we have one person come in illegally from another country. And this is why the Texas government has called in their military, not their military, their National Guard. They've called in their National Guard to beef up their southern border security. So they're putting up the barbed wire fences. They're continuing to put up the shipping containers. They're doing everything they can to stop this flow into Texas. And there's a very good reason for that, because right now the number of people coming into Texas and Arizona fits well within that definition of an invasion. Okay? I don't understand why they're not doing more. Okay, that's rhetorical. I do understand why our government isn't doing more. What I wish is that we, the people, could do more to stop this invasion happening at our southern border. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what that is. I have my ideas about it, what it should be. But it's definitely an invasion. And if Title 42 gets lifted, so this health policy gets lifted, we are going to see millions more across this southern border. Okay? We spent more, our taxpayer dollars went more for putting up tents and security and food and lodging for these illegal immigrants than it actually did for that border patrol, border defense, border security. What does that tell you about the priorities of this government? They want these people to be comfortable and safe and healthy, right? While you have American citizens in Texas and Arizona that are having these people break into their homes. They have to keep their children right next to their sides. You know, they're afraid to let anybody out of their sight. There's no help for them, but we want to make sure that these people that are doing this stuff have a bed to sleep on and food to eat and money and jobs, and they can get shipped out wherever they want to go. Our priorities in this situation are completely and totally backwards. We're spending defense money on keeping Ukraine's border safe while we are allowing our own country's borders to be invaded. Okay? How long is it going to take before people stand up and say, no more? We're not going to let our country get invaded. If we had 2.76 million Chinese enter our country from the northern border, we would call that an invasion. Our military would be called up, we'd be at war. But because they're coming through the southern border and certain people don't care about that, or what countries these people are coming from, we're not going to call it an invasion. I see this getting much worse, but I'm going to talk about that in my predictions. So here's predictions for 2023, and I talked to 3 other people about this. We had great conversation about what we thought what 2023 was gonna look like. So the first one, we think that China will actually go to war with Taiwan, which is going to bring us into possible World War III. That is really going to depend on whether or not our current government backs up the words that they say. And that goes hand in hand with U.S. boots on the ground in Ukraine. Are we really going to back up what we are saying we are going to do? And by we, I mean they, the government. We don't know if they're actually going to back that up with action. It's not very strong words to begin with. We have a very weak government, and we know that. But what our response to that is going to be will determine the extent of the war that happens subsequently. Second prediction. At some point, we are going to have a total power grid failure. Why do I say that? Because in my last video, I talked about the 2 substations the Carolinas that were hit. They were targeted, right? Well, just recently in the state of Washington, 3 substations were hit. This is a coordinated attack on our power grid. Are these isolated? Are they groups that know each other? Are they people that want to see this happen and they're testing, the impact of this type of thing? But remember, if we have 9 substations go down at the same time, our entire power grid system across the country is going to malfunction. Okay? So I believe, and with the other people I talked to, this is a prediction for 2023, that we are going to have that grid down nationally. The other thing that I want to add to that, and this is, I'm going to expand on that a little bit later, is that if that blizzard in Buffalo, and, we experienced it here, although we didn't have it nearly as bad, if that is not a wake-up call for you to be prepared for no electricity, I don't know what will be. They had people that froze to death in their cars. They had people that died that were on oxygen, that collapsed. They had no alternative heat, so they froze to death in their homes. These are horrible, tragic things that did not have to happen. If more people were prepared for a grid down situation or for these severe weather things that are probably going to get worse in 2023. The next one, food and gas prices. So right now the gas prices have gone down. They're starting to climb again. But they are predicting, and I mean the experts, food prices could go even another 25% higher. Okay, so if you're paying $10 for a dozen eggs, and I'm just throwing this out there as an example, okay, if you're paying $10 right now for a dozen eggs, you can expect probably close to 13 dozen eggs in 2023. The gas prices, that really depends on the path that we take. Open more pipelines, open more drilling. We've used a lot of our emergency supply already. I don't know how much we have left or where that's going. But now that we've all spent our resources on Christmas because we're all trying to feel good, this would be a really opportune time for them to come at us with those higher gas prices. The higher food prices make us more dependent upon them so that they can swoop in and save us. The employment crisis. So I know that a lot of Hispanic people are being recruited to work at companies. Traditionally, you have your teenagers, your younger 20s, your 30s, people working at these manufacturing plants. They don't want to work at these plants anymore, and so they're recruiting these Hispanics to come in and work at these companies. Restaurants are having a hard time keeping employment. Places like Walmart, Dollar Store, they're having trouble keeping employment. We think that that's probably going to stay the same. It's not going to get worse. It might, maybe a little bit, but it's not going to get any better. That's for sure. I think in 2023, you're going to see more push for that climate change agenda. So anything that they can do from a socialist perspective is going to be pushed even harder. And that could come through by way of mandates or laws or rules, regulations, policies. Okay? I don't know what that exactly looks like, but I do believe that they are going to push this, the electric vehicles. How'd that work in Buffalo? It didn't. uh, but I see that as being on the agenda for 2023. The next one is having something similar to the COVID. A second wave of that or something similar. And this might tie in with the climate change. We're going to find every reason we can to keep people under their thumb, keep them in control, keep them in fear. And look at how many people followed that in 2020 and 2021. Okay? They tried it with monkeypox. It didn't work. Something's going to come up in 2023 where they can try to exercise that same control. The next one, our Board of Security, and again, I talked about that before. I think that it's not going to change a whole lot. Actually, I think it's going to get worse. I don't think we're going to strengthen that at all. Yes, Republicans take the House January 3rd, but are they actually going to do something about this? I don't believe that they are. If they do, thank God. If they don't, I wouldn't be surprised. Gun control. I predict that this is pretty much going to be unchanged. I think we're going to get more of the same rhetoric. I think that people are going to try to find every excuse they can. But I would remind people that, sadly, New Year's Eve, 3 New York police officers were attacked by machetes. So are we going to ban sharp objects? Are we going to ban cars? You know, where is that line between personal accountability and political agenda? Right now, I don't know. I think that for food, we are going to get more push for the type of food that is disguised as meat. And just think Soylent Green. That's all I can say about that. You're going to see more of a push for people to not eat, especially red meat, but turkey, chicken, pork as well. Do we think that Biden's going to finish his term in 2023? Our prediction was no. That he will either die of natural causes or he will get suicided. Because he's too much of a liability. He's a loose trigger right now. And if they continue this investigation into his son and kind of start closing those walls in, if you will, his memory's not going to be very good, and he's going to say things that they don't want him to say. And so I think he's going to end up being a very big liability. Attacks on Israel, is that a possibility? We agreed that it's a high possibility. There's countries that hate Israel, that we have allowed to build up their arsenal, not just their military, but their nuclear as well. And so that's a very real possibility. Social media is going to be more constricted as far as it comes to free speech. I don't see Elon Musk taking over Twitter as a huge silver lining. I really don't. I think it's a start, but he's already talking about stepping down as CEO. And yeah, he fired a lot of people. And I give him a lot of kudos for kind of standing his ground to a point. But there's so much more that he could have done right from the get-go that he chose not to do. And that's super unfortunate. And so we don't see that changing. We see that becoming more constricted. And then the last one was, oh, nope, I got two more. The next one was crime. So whether it was going to get worse in 2023 or stay the same or get better. And we decided that a society without rule of law was going to get worse. Illinois just passed their no cash bail law. So what's happening with that is that law enforcement doesn't know who they should arrest and who they shouldn't. Because what are they going to get away with? Or, does it do any good to arrest them if they're just going to get sent back out into the street? A lot of these people are doing crimes of opportunity. I heard of 8 people that were arrested for looting during the Buffalo, New York storm, their blizzard that they had. People are going to look for that opportunity in everything, to home invasions, car thefts, breaking into stores, looting, chaos, whatever. We actually see that getting worse because it's part of the socialist agenda. Well, these people just need this. No, they didn't need 18 TVs. Okay? They didn't. There has to be personal accountability. And, well, we have to have no cash bail because the poor people can't afford bail. Then don't do the crime. Period. Done. Okay? This has to stop. The last one that we talked about was World War III. Was that actually going to happen in 2023? And we collectively decided that it's a very real possibility. Not just with Russia, Ukraine, and China and Taiwan, but China could start calling in their loans. And that's going to put a lot of countries, especially those in that Belt and Road Initiative, including the United States, by the way, into a very strenuous economic position. Japan is, excuse me, building up their military. Why are they doing that? Other than they probably feel like there's a threat that's coming from somewhere and they want to do that. And Biden wants that to happen because they gain money from that consistent war machine. The more that we stay engaged, the more that we spend our taxpayers' money on this, the more money that's going back into their pockets. And so that's what they want. So overall, the overall prediction for 2023 is that there is going to be more chaos either way. And as someone that I was speaking with tonight said, there's two sides to the same coin. And so it doesn't matter whether things go this way or things go this way, it's still the same coin. It's still going to get worse. And I agree with that. With everything going on, I just see a lot more chaos in 2023. So what does this mean as a prepper? Well, again, like I said, if none of this has convinced you to be that prepper and be serious about it and get that plan in place. When this storm was coming through here in Wisconsin, this last one, we had our backup heat ready to go. We had our food supplies ready to go. We had our lighting ready to go. We were all set. We're not worried about it. But we know that there are thousands and thousands of people out there that just don't get it. Someone had made a comment in one of my last videos to talk about what not to do. Like how not to heat your home. What is dangerous. And I'm going to do that in my next video. And I'm hoping to get that done tomorrow because we have another storm coming through in our area and for a lot of Minnesota Monday night into through the day Tuesday until Wednesday morning. So there are things that you need to know that you should not do that will keep you safer. But you have to take this stuff seriously, guys. It's not about, you know, just being all wacko and tinfoiled head like everybody thinks that we are. It's preparing for all these types of things. The blizzards, the storms, the power outages, the tornadoes, the hurricanes, Civil War, World War III, whatever it is that gets thrown at us in 2023, you have to be prepared for. It's have the faith, but it's prepare for it. Have that faith in action. That's what God wants for us. That's why we do it. That's why you should be doing it. So Happy New Year to everybody, and God bless.